Mr. Collin, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is going to blow up here in a couple of minutes because as soon as the announcement goes out that we're live, this goes from 5 to 7 people, and last week we had almost 60 in here watching. So it's
Awesome.
crazy, crazy, crazy. I am solo tonight, and so I apologize. Troy was having technical difficulties, and so you just have me tonight. But I will try and do my best to interview you without his comic wit behind me. But thank you so much for coming on. And I know that you are very busy and looking at your website and everything. It's insane, all the different projects you have going on. But let me say hi to the chat really quick. What's going on, chat? Hey, John, Christina Payne, Puff, Nancy's here, Mr. Ginger. We got Trapper. Trapper's one of them, was super excited you were coming on. And then Benny, who goes by Umpty Scratch. And I've got Clara, my girl Clara's in here, and Golden, and Caitlin. Who else is in here? Trying to scroll through the names. Farts Kings.
Oh, okay.
Sassy. Who else is in here? I think I said hi to Nancy. What's going on, Chad? How are you guys tonight? So this is Collin. Hey, Ross. Tats is here. Roo Crew. Told you they'll all pop in here. This is Mr. Collin. And actually, I need to thank Umpty, a.k.a. Benny. He's the one who reached out to me right after last week's live and said, hey, I've got a guy for you if you're looking for cosplay. His name is Collin. He lives in the same city as me. And I said, okay. And he's like, here's the link to his Instagram page. And this is what I did. So I flipped onto your page and I went, I was like, are you joking? I'm like, where has this guy been? And so he's like, yeah, he's done, all this stuff. So I want to bring up one. I mean, you and I kind of chatted before the show. So let me bring up the picture. And this is, I said to you, the question I ask you is, if you had to save something, if there was a fire and you only had one of your items, what would it be? And this is what you said.
Yes, my sweet tooth. I love my sweet tooth. It's actually an Escalade Power Wheels. I bought it from a local salvage yard. Believe it or not, it was next to a bunch of cars, and I made it into a power racer. So ripped out all the guts, all metal underneath, all constructed. We welded it up, put scooter motors in it, and it goes up to 30 miles an hour and has a sound system in it. It's fun. It's just a blast to drive around.
So is there a whole circuit that you guys race these on? Like you said, you race them. So is there a league or something?
Yeah, so it's called the Power Racing League, and the rule is you have to build a car under $500. So that's mainly just the stuff that makes it go. So anything safety-wise, you can spend as much as you want on it, but they really want you to spend $500 on the stuff that makes it go. So car batteries or electric motors, and it has to be all electric. And they race all around the United States. It started in California. Jim Burke is the one who founded it. And it's gone crazy at maker fairs and maker spaces make them. And to be honest, that's kind of how I got into battle bots, but that's a whole nother topic. But I was racing against people that were competing in battle bots and I didn't even know it.
So are all three of those yours?
Yeah, so me and my dad built the Sweet Tooth and Jurassic Park side by side, so we kind of both worked on each other's as we were going. And then the Mutt Cut is my wife's, Natalie, and me and my dad knocked that out in 2 weeks. They thought I was crazy buying carpet. I went to Lowe's and bought carpet, and I was like, what are you going to do with that? It's going to go on a Power Wheel. It's going to make it look like a dog. And they're like, oh, that's weird.
And I love that. Well, that was one of the things that stood out to me too. At first, when I saw the Power Racers, I was like, he did Dumb and Dumber. That is awesome, because I could just imagine you jumping and the ears flopping and everything like that. So that's awesome.
It's kind of top heavy. That one is. It's fun though. You can get your knee on it, and you can kick back and pop a wheelie. It's fun. There's wheelie bars on it. So it's a lot of fun to drive around on it.
Don't show that to my 9-year-old nephew, because then he'll want one. So my parents bought him something called a cheetah.
Yeah,
which is like a go-kart on steroids for little people, and because he's only 9, they took the governor off that thing. That kid is Tokyo drifting in the driveway and running around the field. I mean, there's a path worn around at the farm that we have, and that kid just goes buck wild. I can see him getting into this. He's very heavy into like the Lego clubs and things like that. Kid's super smart, like adore the kid, but the kind of stuff that you do is the kind of stuff I can see him getting into. But my brother Trey is actually the one who does most of the 3D printing, which leads me to talking about, let's go into this. So, well, actually, before we get into the 3D printing, I want to talk about this. So you actually do artwork as well.
Yeah, I paint stuff.
Well, the reason I brought that one up is because the cardinal, it means a lot to me and my family. There was a cardinal when my grandma had breast cancer. There was a cardinal that visited the house every single day, and it came back frequently when she was sitting in the kitchen. And so every time we see cardinals now, I always say hi to my grandma. That, you know, that's kind of a symbol of her still being around here. So I thought that was super cool, and I would say that it takes a lot of that kind of artistic side of things to get into the 3D printing. Which outfit did you, or what do you want to start with here? I've got everything here. Well, let's start with this one, because this one caught my eye. Now,
the Predator.
Is that you?
Yeah, that was actually at Wizards Auto Salvage here in Henderson. A buddy of mine, Alex Morgan, wanted to take some pictures of it, and he's an amazing photographer. You can see his logo and stuff on there, and look his website up. But yeah, I mean, it's latex undersuit, and there's fiberglass forearms and fiberglass bio helmet that comes off, and they're I think they're bamboo dreads is what the technical term for that is, and so they flow really nicely whenever you're like waving your head around, like it's like, I don't know, like conditioned hair or something, I guess. But yeah, so we just walked around and took pictures in a junkyard, and that's what came out.
So how do you, okay, so we're kind of talking backstage, and so my question is, so you said that's fiberglass. Now, do you create your own molds, or was this something that you could get online as far as the designs, or how do you start from infancy of these cosplay outfits and go all the way to the end?
So with that one in particular, I had some help because I was still fairly new into costuming. It was in 2008, 2009. A buddy of mine, Joe Evans, he's really big into the Hunter's Lair, which is a predator alien like costume group, and he helped me paint all the latex stuff and make some stuff, and so you could buy kits at the time. That's what people would sculpt and cast these, and so you could buy like a raw kit of something, like a fiberglass raw kit of the gauntlets, and you could piece it together and glue it, and then but it was all handmade back then. Like, this was before 3D printers. This was before any, like, so it was really weird for me moving from like sculpting and casting to 3D printing, but it's such a better thing. I mean, it's so much better. It's easier. You can see exactly what you're going to get. But yeah, so
the other nice thing is you can actually, like, you start it and you let it go, so you can actually do other things while it's printing. And you said this one in particular, and I'm going to show you guys this picture first. So he is the tall one in the back there, and is that your wife on the right hand side there? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's my wife in the necromancer costume. We made those two costumes in about 2 months before Dragon Con. And that was right whenever the necromancer was being announced for Diablo. They don't really have too many, or they didn't have too many reference images. So we were really working with very limited reference material to make the models for that. But all that's 3D printed, and the fabric, obviously. I had some help with fabric on that one because it was way, like, you go in and buy like 20 yards of fabric, people, like, it's just a lot because I have to be in it. I have to, so it gets all the proportions and stuff correct. But I had some help from my friend Grace Henderson, and Natalie and her mother helped as well. So
now, you said that you start off at about 8 feet, and then so the guy on your left, you were telling me, is about 6 feet tall. So you have something in there that actually, how tall are you in this picture? All the way up.
So I'm 10 foot tall, and so we took a wheelchair base and we took all the guts out of it and made a platform that's on a ball screw, and I'm standing on a platform in that, and I have a lever next to my feet, and it can lift me up on that ball screw. I'm literally like just sitting on a chair, kind of, but it lifts me up, an extra 2 feet, and I have wires run up on the bottom all the way up my arm, all the way to I think it was my right hand. Um, and so you can see some of the other pictures of it, but there's the pendant from the wheelchair 3D printed into the weapon, and you can see me controlling it with my thumb. So that's how I'm moving around. I'm literally looking like I'm just floating around the crowd, and I'm 10 foot tall.
Now,
But
what kind of reaction do you get? I mean, I would assume that children are probably running in the other direction, but like the fans of the game and everything. I mean, what kind of reaction do you get when you go from being 8 foot tall to just all of a sudden you're just like, whoop?
so that was one of the coolest moments being in costume I've ever experienced. First time I got in it, we were at Dragon Con, and we were rolling out into the Marriott atrium level, and nobody really knew who I was, or some of my friends did, but there was probably 300 or 400 people in front of me. They're kind of just looking at me, and I just start rolling forward towards them and put my arms out, and I start lifting up at the same time, and I see like 100 people in front of me. They're all scared, and they're all backing up. It was so amazing. They're all like just in fear, like what is going on?
Now you said there's another cool feature to that too. That you put a sound system in it.
Yeah, there's a sound system in there as well. At Dragon Con, it didn't do much because the echoing of the people really kind of overtook it. But there's a PAL motorcycle sound system in the bottom of it. So at smaller events that doesn't have echoing sounds, it goes. I have another wire that goes up my back, and I have a microphone on, and it makes my voice a lot deeper to sound like Malthael from Diablo 3. And it really is kind of creepy because it just kind of is like a low roar, and it's below me. It's not the speakers are below me on the bottom, and it's cool.
So is that like your main go-to costume that you when you go to a con, or is this more like that you said you go to Dragon Con, that's like your favorite con to go to, or do you like rotate through all the different ones that you have?
I mean, normally I pick a year. Like I haven't done one. Well, last year was COVID, but normally I'll pick like, let's say 2021. I'm going to Dragon Con. I have all year to make one costume, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend time working on that costume at whatever it may be. And I always want to do something different. I always want to do something bigger and badder and better. And I've kind of got to a point where I don't know what the next thing is because Malthael is just over the top. But I'm going to figure it out. There's going to be something. Has to be something.
So how did you get into doing the cosplay? I mean, there's the normal Joes like myself. I can go to, Halloween USA and I can get a costume, and you can pay $200 or $300. I have a $300 Chewbacca costume, and it's not exactly, it's not screen. I wouldn't be able to fit in if I was on a Star Wars movie set, but it's a better costume than you can get at like a Walmart or something like that. So how did you take the step of going from just like the basic costumes up to doing your own and creating them? And then to compound this question, for the ones where there's just video games, how do you find the right proportions and everything else to scale it up to fit a human body?
Okay, I'll start with the first question. So in 2006, I was an usher at a wedding, and I met a guy named Madison Crafton, and we were ushering or whatever. We were at the back of where the wedding was taking place, and he looked over at me, and he opened up his jacket, and he had a screen accurate Master Replica's lightsaber on his side. And it was an Obi-Wan, like episode 1. It was amazing. I was like freaking out. I was like, what? Who has that? So after that, we started talking and we started hanging out. Then he invited me over to his house, and he had a mannequin in his living room with a Darth Vader just sitting in the corner, just full-blown Darth Vader. And it was like the most accurate thing I'd ever seen, and I'm used to, like, at the time, like Party City or Walmart costumes, and that looked real to me. It was Darth Vader. So one night we were hanging out, and he put me in the costume, and we got to I walked around the block and got to see crowd reactions, and then it sparked something in me to where I had to do this. And that was the start. But I kept going from there. Did Halo stuff and Predator and Iron Man and Resident Evil. I mean, all sorts of stuff over the years. So.
Well, that's one you're known for. Is let me pull him up real quick. Is Master Chief. So this is from Halo.
Yeah,
Oh, do you have the helmet right there?
yeah.
That is so cool. And that actually led to you being in a music video, correct?
Yes. So there's a group called the 405th, and I joined that whenever it was Mjolnir Armor back in 2007, before the 405th, and met a lot of amazing creators. And one of those creators was Tim Wynn. Um, Tim Wynn, I don't remember what year it was, 2010 maybe. He contacted me. I was right after Dragon Con. He called me. I was actually driving back, and he's like, "Hey, we got this music video. You probably never heard of her, Lindsay Sterling, but they're going to pay for everything if you want to come out here and be in the music video." I was like, "So they're paying for like my flights and stuff, or are they going to put me like just for food? Like what's the catch?" And like, nope, they're paying for everything. Devin Graham he's the guy that's paying for it all, and they want Halo costumes for this music video. So, okay. So I flew out to Utah, shipped all my stuff out there, flew out to Utah, and we did a music video.
So if you have the helmet again, so how did you do that? And especially getting like the color right and everything of his visor, and like how did you go from? Did you 3D print that as well?
This is casted.
Okay.
So this was sculpted and casted. I don't even know if you can see it. But so what took place whenever we did this? There was so we had clay, and we sculpted it all like a master version of this, and we took Rebound 25, which is a silicone rubber, and then we laid it all over this like a big shell. And you can actually, well, you can kind of see it. There's usually like a cut line all the way down it, and you can peel that off, right, to get the clay out. So once you did that, you also have to have a mother shell, like a hard, like fiberglass or like like fiberglass. It's like over top of the silicone to keep the shape. The silicone's very malleable. And once you have that, you have the hole where the head goes in, right? So you put the silicone shell on it with the mother mold over top of it, and you pour resin into it, and you literally are sitting there doing this, shaking it around until all the resin goes where you want and hardens. And once that's done, you can pop it out. And I actually have some Brawl helmets over here I can show you.
Sure.
Yeah, let me go grab one real quick.
Okay. Chat, if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat there. I'm watching you guys, and so if you guys have any questions for Colin, let me know. I'll throw them in.
So that's a raw cast. I kind of have a little overspray on it, but this was literally it's the same stuff. I mean, this is right out of the mold, and it's like a stormtrooper helmet. So
that is so cool.
Yeah, and you can see the inside's like really shiny. I don't know if you can even see it, but
yeah, okay.
But that's where the air got to it and made it shiny, and then the other side would be where the silicone would be. Yeah, that's how their helmets are made most of the time.
So then the visor, and is that just like a?
So this visor, this was before 3D. Well, I don't even know, like back form visors. So this was actually 2 motorcycle visors I bought at a motorcycle shop, and I just cut out the shape and laid them over top of one another. And you can kind of see through. You can see through both of them, but this is a really old helmet. I mean, this was probably 2008 ish.
Okay.
They have a lot better helmets now, and I actually have some. There's a couple of them around here. This is another casted helmet that my buddy Sean Bradley made. I finished it, but he made the master mold of it, the ODST.
Oh, so that's very cool.
Yeah, this is Natalie's.
That's Natalie's?
Yeah, this is Natalie's. You can see this is a back form visor. So what that is you take a sheet of plastic and you heat it up, and you would have like a back form table, and you would put the sheet on there and then turn on the vacuum, and it sucks it down around what they call a buck, and it makes that shape, and then you can just cut it out and put it in a visor.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the details a lot better in that one.
That's super cool. And so, that's your wife, and like you said, you and your wife, you make her some stuff, but she's actually she's getting into actually producing her own items as well.
Yeah, we kind of complement each other on things. She's pretty crafty, making things. I definitely take a hand on like hardware, like metal or plastic or anything like that. So, but yeah, we love doing this kind of stuff. It's definitely different than the norm, and it's fun to do together. Go to conventions or events or whatever, and pull out a badass costume, and then you're just there, you know.
Well, I mean, I've been around to different events. I haven't been to an actual con. I was supposed to, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I was supposed to go to Motor City Comic Con last May, and then obviously everything got shut down because of COVID. But that was one of the things I was looking forward to, and I was taking my nephew because of the fact that I thought he would love to see the characters, and you know, being so little, he doesn't know the difference between the fact that this might be someone that he's seen in a movie somewhere. So I thought that would be super cool, and I think there's a certain level of confidence that you get when you can put on, you know, the costume, and you can be anybody in the world that you want to be. And so I think that's cool too. And I've thought about it. I mean, we talked about your Boba Fett helmet in the background there, but I had thought about actually getting my brother to 3D print me a Mandalorian costume for like Halloween and stuff like that, because my whole family is into the Mandalorian show. Yeah. But our concern was, and let me show him your droid. You 3D printed this. What did it take? 1,100 hours, I think is what I read.
Yeah, right at 1,100 hours to 3D print that. But I had multiple printers running at the same time, so it kind of compounded pretty easily.
Okay, so my question is, this I would have thought was cast in metal by looking at it and the paint job and everything that you did. So for all of us novices, how do you, anybody who knows 3D printing, I don't know if Flipcake is in the chat or not. I haven't seen Ezra. How do you go from the 3D printing where you can actually see the different layers to making it even out, and then you know, a paintable surface and everything so that it looks like a different material? So how do you go from hot plastic to that?
So there's several different ways you can do that. The way I found I like the best, I can actually grab the bottom, but there's this stuff called Ecstasy 3D that Smooth On makes. It's a really lightweight epoxy.
Okay.
And what it does is, so you would lay, like, once your 3D printed is done, and you can get a brush and just brush it on top of it, and it kind of heats it up a little bit, but it hardens. It's a hard surface at that point. And once it's that hard surface and not PLA or ABS, you can sand that stuff down. And I've actually found that if you take it right whenever it dries and take it to a sandblaster, you can sandblast that surface, and it gets even smoother. And then there's also filler primer that you can buy, like automotive filler primer, like the spray. You can spray something, but on large things, it's a whole lot easier than smaller items. But like little details and stuff, it's a little trickier. I've seen people do. I've never done. Well, I did try this, but I don't think it worked very well. But acetone baths, you can take acetone and you can heat it up, which doesn't sound very safe, but you can put your ABS print above it, and it will slightly melt the outside contour of the printed item, and it makes it shiny to where all the lines kind of go away. But I think it kind of deforms some of the surface. Like if there's really fine details, I think it might deform that a little bit.
Because I was thinking about doing it, and I thought, well, this would be lightweight. So instead, like the Chewbacca costume, obviously it's got hair all over it, but that suit weighs probably 60 pounds when I have it on, and believe me, it doesn't work well when you're trying to play beer pong. But I was wondering about that, and my brother and I had been talking about it. That's what we were wondering, is how do you get the fill? Now, did you hand paint that? How many pieces is that droid?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. There's a lot of pieces there. I don't know. I don't know how many pieces he is. Several.
And then you hand paint those. So did you just look at like movie stills to kind of get how to distress him and everything else, or?
So I kind of did my own thing. I looked for that tan color, and I found a primer, like an Army military tan, and I just based that all over them. And I wanted to do my own thing, so I do a lot of airbrushing and washing techniques. So like I have a raw, like a lot of different brands, but Golden Brand is my favorite paint for that kind of stuff. And there's a particular brown that I like called Raw Umber and Burnt Sienna. Those two are like my favorites. and you can make anything look distressed with those two colors.
Really? Okay.
It's great. And with an airbrush, you can you can make anything look distressed. And so I use those two, and then I use a washing technique where I take like a bottle or like a little like jar of water, and I put a little bit of paint in there and mix it up, and then you can kind of just let it drip, and you can wipe it off, and it gets in those cracks and crevices to get that distressed look. And I like distressing things, actually. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, based on what I've seen, I mean, between Sweet Tooth and then looking at the droid, and we'll get to the speeder in a minute, but I mean, it's crazy. I honestly thought the droid was metal, and then you're like, oh no, I read your website, and you're like, no, I 3D printed this, and it took 1,100 hours. I was like, he 3D printed that? I mean, we did face shields during when COVID first started to get them out to the first responders when they were so low. We were delivering them out to the hospitals and doctors and everything around here. And I know how long those took. So when you said 1,100 hours, I was like, my brothers would never have the patience to do that. Not at all. Not at all. So we have a couple of questions. The first one was, ask him if he's ever liked to collab with Adam Savage, or if you ever met him.
I have never met Adam Savage, but I would love to collab with him. I watch a lot of his videos on Tested. He's a fun guy. I mean, I met Grant for a short period of time at DragonCon. He was on an elevator with me. I was nerding out. It's Grant Imahara. And but yeah, that was like the closest I've ever got. And I don't know. I would love to meet him and hang out and just learn, and yeah, that would be fun.
Honestly, I think that would be a cool way to take your channel, because of all the stuff that you have, like the stuff that you have hanging on the wall, and then the different masks that you've made, like the one that's in the background that you said that you like kind of rushed, the one that you put in the case. What, I forget what the death something mask.
Oh, yeah. This one?
Yeah.
This one, yeah, that's one of my favorites. Just visually, it looks
Look
amazing.
at the detail, guys. Hey, Joanna. Hey, Welsh. Look at the detail on this. And then you said that there wasn't any visuals for what the backside of it looked like. So you just came up with this on your own with the ribs and the spinal cord there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stalked your YouTube channel. And if you guys have not subbed, please go sub to him. We're trying to get him up to 50, and when he gets to 50, I'm going to do a giveaway. But again, that was 3D printed as well, and you would think that is bone or cast because of how smooth it is. I think it's just crazy.
It's a lot of work hand sanding that stuff.
But taking your channel and doing it something like what Adam does. So like I watched one of his videos where he recreated a lightsaber handle, and he'd done it probably 10 or 15 years before that, and he tried to do it again, and how different how different they came based on the pictures that he used. But I think for people like us who like to go to the cons and may want to take this next step, you doing this kind of tutorials with the helmets and the mugs and the masks and everything else, I think that would be cool. Because you do it something completely different than he does. And so for the cosplay world, I mean, I think it would be awesome. I mean, I know you're busy and you don't have anything else going on. I mean, it's not like you're on Discovery Channel or anything like that. But I think that would be a cool way to take your channel. I mean, I would definitely watch it because I'm obsessed. Once I get into like the diorama, watching people do with things with resin and the dioramas and stuff, like I just sit there and I'll just like bucket of popcorn for 6 hours and can watch that stuff.
I watch those too, like the do-it-yourself or any of those things. I'll watch those for hours. Natalie thinks I'm crazy. I think sometimes I'm sitting there like, oh, they're building what I don't even know, like a whatever, like a desk or something. I watched them make a couch the other day, and I was sitting there just drooling over it. It's like, this is so cool.
Well, that's a good segue, because the next comment was, did you see the 3D house that they just made that they're trying to sell? I can't remember what state it was in, but they actually made a 3D house with a 3D printer.
Really? I didn't see that.
I haven't either. I didn't even know that would be something that would be legal.
I guess it would be like concrete, I would imagine. They would have to use something that's like a hard, like that could withstand the elements, but could be printable. I've seen them do pancakes. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that would be cool. So Welsh is actually from the other side of the planet here. He's over in Europe, and he wants to know how long does it take you to go to design them on the computer first before you were actually printing them?
So that's a good question. It depends on what I'm making. Something like that death helmet. I spent a lot of time making little skulls and throwing them. I use ZBrush, by the way. That's another software that I use. But I spent a lot of time detailing this thing. I would probably guess 10 to 20 hours. And then going to scale, you have to start scaling things up after you get that. Then you have to start watching your pixels, because as you scale things up, it gets pixelated. And you have to render things in such a way to where there's so many polygons. So whenever you scale it up to 20 feet or however big you're printing, it doesn't look dumb. I learned that the hard way. That shield actually right here is very pixelated, if you notice. I mean, it's kind of hard to see from this far away, and it looks okay, but if you get up close, you can see individual pixels from the model.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, is it better to like get one of those scanner things that they have where you can actually scan something that's almost like a full size, like for the like a helmet? Like if you could get something at a GameStop that's a replica or something, and then do that, or is it better to actually design it yourself with the ZBrush?
It's easier to scan it, but at the same time, you can take any kind of model, like let's just say you scanned in something off of a figurine, and you can scale that up, and you can make it into anything you want on ZBrush. You just manipulate it and move, and it just takes a lot of time. It took me a lot of time to learn the software. I was actually in a really bad spot, and had to learn it within 48 hours to make a commission.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but I did it, and I got through it.
So show me your mug that you have there. So and this is something that you will one off. You'll do commissions. So what types of, like, what's the coolest things that besides the mug, which I think is awesome, and I'm assuming you can take that out to wash it, and is it kind of
it's just a Yeti cup that sits in there.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing that you've been commissioned to do?
Oh man, I can't talk about it. Why would you bring that up?
Oh, well, I didn't. I thought like something you've already done. Like I'm not talking about what we talked about that you can't talk about. Like something you can't.
Yeah. I did a Borderlands Power Wheels for Ethan and Lauren Brandt. They're out of Colorado. That was a lot of fun because it was up my alley. The distress and it looked really cool. The Bandit Tactical, I probably got that wrong, but it's the vehicle from Borderlands, and they do an amazing cosplay of Tiny Tina and Psycho, and I saw them, and whenever I brought it to the convention for them to drive it around, it was amazing because it was like another piece to their puzzle, and it made their characters come to life even more, and it was great. That was one of my favorite commissions I've ever done.
Oh, that's very cool. Now, in your cosplays, also you've met several people, and I have a picture, but this is not the picture that is in the intro. Which, let's go ahead and talk about this bad boy.
Yeah.
So there's a picture that I saw of you with actually Jake Lloyd, who was young Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars trilogies. So let's talk about the speeder, and then let's talk about like all the cool people that you've met. I saw Weird Al Yankovic and all kinds of pictures there.
So the speeder bike was actually, I have a friend who had the speeder bike before me, and it was in a really bad shape whenever he decided he was going to get rid of it. And I didn't want to see it get messed up or destroyed, and it was a piece of art. And I wound up contacting him, and I told him I want to buy it from him, and we figured out a price, and I wound up going and picking it up. And it was in a lot. Like I said, the front nose was messed up. The handlebars were broke off. And I wound up remaking the majority of the bike out of metal because it was all like found greeblies. Like the side thruster was a flower pot. It was just painted black. So I made that out of metal, and it's bolted on the side now. It's a lot stronger piece. And it was just such a cool piece to have. It's 11 foot long. People can sit on it. And I have a big 16-foot banner I put behind it. And I actually got to go to several conventions with it because people loved it. And yeah, the speeder bike is a really, really cool prop that I'm excited to bring it back home because it's at the shop right now, and I'm working on a new studio space here at the house. And once it's done, the speeder bike comes home. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you collect props? Actually like authentic props, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, what kind of collection do you have there?
My favorite. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have a screen used Resident Evil Claire Redfield costume from Afterlife. The red vest that was iconic in what was it, Resident Evil 2? The red vest that she wore. Actually, it's right behind the camera. I can grab it and show you if you want to see it.
You guys want to see it? I'm sure they do.
Okay, let me go grab it.
All right.
And this is actually Natalie's. I bought it for her. But this is the screen used Resident Evil Afterlife Claire Redfield Allie Larder wore costume.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And I think it's really neat to see this stuff because like it was made for I think this was a stunt suit actually. But there's like a hole right here for some kind of wire that would like have grabbed them and like, I don't know, made them fly or kick or something. And like just seeing it and the weathering, and it's just really neat. But so whenever I made the executioner costume, Natalie really wanted to do Claire Redfield, and we had contacted several like leather smiths because I didn't know much about leather, and we were trying to figure out how to make this vest. That was the main thing. And I wound up just going online one day, typing it in, and this popped up for sale. And it was cheaper for me to buy the screen used costume than it was to actually get it made.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thought that was crazy. I think it was like right around $1,000, and the quotes I had was like $1,500 to $2,000 to get this stuff made. And maybe it's nobody wanted to mess with it, and they just quoted me at a really high number. I don't know.
But why not have the original ones, you know?
Yeah.
That's super cool.
What's better than the screen used one?
Well, no, that's absolutely awesome. I'll if you want to, so you don't have to hold it. If you want to go put it back.
Yeah, I'll go put it back.
So they want to know, how do you carry all of that equipment to your cons?
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of work. So I have a 16-foot enclosed trailer that I shove everything in, and then I take it to places. I know, like the power wheels and stuff, we can fit 3 power wheels, the resident or mouthfeel. I keep forgetting names. The big frame and several cases of costumes in there. It works. I mean, it's just a lot of work to move that stuff around.
Have you ever been to one in Michigan? Because we've gone to Maker Faire a couple of times. They do it at Greenfield Village up here.
Okay.
And Greenfield Village it's property owned by the Ford family. So we got Orville Wright's, the Wright brothers' original home is there. Thomas Edison's laboratory is there, the actual laboratory. And then Maker Faire, when I went the one time, they had all the guys when the big tornado chasing was, the big thing all on the, I forget, was it Weather Channel or something? They did the tornado chasing shows, and they had those guys there with the actual vehicles and stuff. But I didn't know about this side of it. So have you ever been this far north?
I have been to Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is really close to Michigan.
I was born 20 minutes north of Fort Wayne.
Okay, so they had a Maker Faire there for a few years, and I went to that a couple years in a row. And yeah, that's the furthest north I've ever been to an event. But Atlanta, Florida, I go south where it's a little warmer. I try to.
It's like 11 degrees outside here today.
Yeah,
a little chilly. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and obviously we haven't touched on the other thing, and so I'll tell the chat. So I already told Colin this. So Umpty had mentioned, and I wasn't like clicking with me, and I was literally watching an episode of BattleBots that I had recorded, and I think it was Hypershock versus Scorpios. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, he's coming on my show. So you said that's kind of how you met the guys from Team Hyper. So you're on Team Hypershock, and I know more than I should about BattleBots. That there you go, guys, fangirling out right here. He's been a part of pretty much all of the seasons, especially since the reboot. Will. And so you've been a part of it for what, one year now?
One season. So I told you I raced against teams in BattleBots, and I didn't know it. My wife absolutely loves Team Hypershock, and I loved them too. They're one of my favorites. We talked about, they had these jackets they wanted to sell last year for the season 4 jackets, or I guess that would be year before. Anyways, but so my wife wanted one, and I contacted them, and I was like, hey, I want to buy a couple jackets, and also I'm part of a machine shop, and I know how to make stuff, and I would love to be part of the team. And I didn't really know Will or the team at the time, but I threw myself out at them. And like 2 or 3 months later, I get we get the jackets and everything, but 2 or 3 months later, I get a email from Will saying, hey, I suck. I should have replied sooner, but if you really want to be part of the team, we would love to have you. And I was like, what? Like, really? And we're going to start filming in April. This was before COVID. So it kept getting pushed out from April to May to June, July, August. We wound up filming in October of last year. And I went to Miami in March and met all the guys and got to see the shop and got to see Hypershock in real life instead of on TV. And I was kind of like freaking out about it because it was Hypershock, And they, so we flew out to Long Beach, California in October and we got there. We didn't have a robot. We had parts. Yeah. We had parts of a robot. We had to build the whole robot on set. So, really? And it had never been built before. This is the first time we ever built it. It was crazy.
Like this?
No. Hypershock is like that, which is fine. But it's all new components. There's no like weird ghost thing that's going to happen from last season to that would possibly affect like a crack in the steel. It's all new, everything. But I wound up making a lot of the machine components for Hypershock. I made the blades. I made the hubs that the blades seat in. I made the axles for like the motors. I made several pieces for Hypershock. I made the front plow and painted it there while I was at BattleBots. Will was like, hey, I got these random pieces of bent metal. Do you think you can weld them up and paint them and make them look pretty? It's like, I got that. That's easy. So, but yeah, that was kind of how that happened. And it was so fast. We got there. We had to get COVID tested as soon as we got there, and we get COVID tested every 3 days on set. And we set up the booth and immediately got to work, and it was a ton of work. We were there from 6 in the morning till about 12 at night every night. It was several fights a day. Oh, not just, we would fight maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, depending on where we were at in the timeline. At the beginning, we didn't fight because we didn't have a rollout. We were still trying to build it, but it was a crazy time.
So no, with you machining everything. So if you guys have, a heavy fight where you receive a lot of damage. I mean, I saw them fight Huge. I saw Huge. Is it Huge? The one that's made out of like foam or something like that.
Yeah.
And what was the other one that I saw? Is it Mammoth? The one that has the big pendulum arm on it? Oh, he just destroyed Mammoth. That was awesome.
That was awesome. That was so much smoke from those batteries. It was crazy.
Oh, that was just insane. And but like, if you guys get a lot of damage done by one of those, like, how you said sometimes you fight twice a day. Do you make like 6 of those shields so that if you have to go right back into filming, that there's a spare one? I mean, how do you turn them around so fast?
So Team Hypershock had enough parts to make 3 robots. So we could literally we had 3 chassis, 3 of everything, I mean, and a lot of motors, a lot of boards, and we wound up if we took damage, which we took damage a few fights, we would just take it apart, look at it. Okay, this needs to be, throw this away, get another one, and we just keep going. And there was also a machine shop there, or I say there was two machines there. It was a lathe and a mill, and they had a welding booth, Lincoln Welding. They had a booth set up there, and I wound up having to learn how to run Tormac while I was there, which is a weird machining. I'm not used to it. I'm used to Fanuc and like G code and stuff like normal machining to me. So I had to learn a whole new language. And but yeah, so they had certified machinists there to help you, and it was you could make anything there essentially if you had enough time.
Well, I have to ask this question. So obviously we hear like the announcers screaming and everything else, and you know, they obviously the sounds are loud when all you have all that force and they're banging into each other, especially when you have like you said, your blades going and things like that. What is it like to actually be standing behind that plexiglass or that safety glass, whatever it is? I don't know how you guys keep from killing each other when pieces go flying, but what is it like to actually be in the set and in like watching these up close?
It's crazy, honestly. It's so watching it first. I had never seen any of this stuff live. We got there, and first time I ever saw it live, I was walking up on stage to put the bot in the ring to fight, and it was just insane because you don't really see all the details of the fights on TV. Because whenever a bot hits at all anything, and the weapon hit anything, there's pieces flying across the arena. You don't see the little chunk of metal that just flew and got stuck in the glass at 10,000 RPM. It was crazy. But it was really, looking at it, I felt like I was watching controlled CNC crashes. I don't know if you've ever seen like CNC machines crash on like YouTube or something. But I felt like that was what it was. It was literally just CNC machines crashing into one another.
The girls are saying, so this is Joanna. She said, I felt bad for some of them. They get beat up pretty bad. I'm like, no, it's hurt.
Yeah. We had so much love for Rusty this season. I don't know if you guys are watching. Yeah. Rusty, that guy, David, he's an amazing guy. And Rusty was it was a whole nother character. The bot was. Rusty was just, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed watching him.
He was new this season, yes?
Yeah. So he built the robot 3 years ago and had it in his garden. And then he wound up figuring out he was going to be on, and he got the robot out of his garden with a backhoe and put it in the back of his truck and drove to California. And yeah, I mean, and then put motors in it, and here we are. We're fighting. And he was a one-man team.
Well, I was kind of bummed because the other thing that I was looking for is if we got you to 50, one of the things I was hoping is they had a hex bugs that of Hypershock. And because I'd seen proto pictures that they were going to do it with the rake on it. And the rake thing still cracks me up. I mean, it looks like giant green fingers coming at you. The rake. But they never actually built the hex bug.
It was a prototype. That season, I'm not real sure of the exact history on this, and Will would probably correct me if I got it wrong. But I think that Witch Doctor wound up getting the spot that Hypershock was supposed to be in. But they had the prototypes made, and I saw one of them whenever we were in Miami. It's pretty cool to see. But I want one. If they ever make them.
I mean, when I put two and two together and realized that was the team and everything. I mean, obviously, Bite Force, who's been kind of a thorn in Hypershock's rear end. The Witch Doctor, Bronco, Tombstone. I mean, I do watch the show, people. I watch the show. But it seems like something fun. Like that is something that I would love. I don't know how to do robotics or electronics or anything like that. My brothers are really good with machining. My youngest brother worked in a machine shop. They'd be really good at that portion of it. But I would just love to be there. I mean, I'm not going to steer it or anything, but I'd like to be standing in the back row going, yeah, let me push the button. Yeah. I'll hit the hammer. So, is it something that you are going to continue on with, going forward, or was this kind of like a one and done season for you?
No, I plan on going forward with it. I have a baby on the way, so
Oh, congratulations!
yeah, so we'll see how the timeline works for this next season. But I plan on going to season 6 as long as they have a season 6, and we'll see. I mean, I want to be in this as long as I can possibly do it. As long as Will and all the guys will have me there. It sucks being so far apart. I mean, they're in Miami and I'm in Kentucky, but I really enjoy hanging out with the guys, and I chat with them every day. I mean, we're actually they're airing our fight this week of us fighting again, or fighting in BattleBots. So be on the lookout for that.
It's set to record, like literally every single time that it comes on, whether it's a rerun or not. I have probably 40 episodes because there for a while, they didn't run it, so they were running a lot of old reruns, and then I forget it must have been like New Year's weekend or something that they were doing a marathon, or maybe the weekend after they did a whole marathon of I think last season and part of this season, so season 4 and season 5. But that's very cool. I tried out for MasterChef. So see, okay. You build stuff out of plastic, resin, metal. I build stuff out of food.
Food's good.
I didn't make it to LA because I was too vanilla, is what they basically told me. I didn't have enough drama in my life to make it onto the show, and I wasn't bitchy enough, apparently. So yeah, I am such a geek. Shut it, Clara. Well, so when's the baby due, by the way?
End of July, but we're thinking it's going to come early.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're excited about it. That's some of the things that I have to get done, baby room and stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
It's a girl. We're having a little girl, another little girl. So we're super excited about it, though. I know
the next generation.
Yeah, me and Natalie have been bouncing ideas for names and stuff. We haven't figured out anything yet, but yeah, we're trying to figure it all out as we go.
Well, you have to keep me posted. And yes, guys, I did ask him. I said, "Do you know what these are?" And he's like, "Yeah, what are those Funko Pops?" He actually has some.
I do.
Completely different world than us, and he has Funko Pops.
Yeah, I have them in the house. I don't have them out here, but they're in the house.
So that's very cool. So my last question to you, we have just a couple minutes left. What would be your dream project that if you had all the money in the world and any piece of equipment that you needed, what would be your dream build?
So this is like, I literally answered this the other day to a friend of mine at work. If we won the lottery, because the lottery was like stupid high, like, I don't know, it was like $1 billion or something. But I would build a Millennium Falcon on top of the Ghostbuster Firehouse with a bat cave underneath, all 1/1 scale replica, and I would live there. That would be my house. And that
would be awesome.
Yeah, and it would all be connected. There'd be a fire pole from the Falcon down. I mean, it'd be great.
I didn't even think about that. That would be super cool. I couldn't even think about if I could do that. Castle Grayskull.
There you go.
If I could do a crossover with a cool like woman cave in the sewer, like for like Ninja Turtles, and I would definitely want a Transformer vehicle, like something that I could go like, and it would turn into something else. That's what you need to make for your kids. You're good with the cars. Have you seen those Transformer outfits?
Yes, I have.
You should do
like, that. Like this, and they like stand up. Yeah.
You should do that for your kids. That would, you would be like the coolest dad on the block.
Well, we have ideas for costumes for Emery and our other little one whenever she comes. But I don't know. We'll see. I want to do a treasure goblin from Diablo and have her run around like laughing. I think it'd be hilarious. But
that would be great.
She probably would hate it, but she'd probably just cry. But she's fine.
Well, speaking of family, that's my mother. Hi, Mom.
Hello. Hi, Mom.
So I had one final picture here that I wanted to ask you about. Hey, Mom, check this out. Look what he painted.
It's a bird.
But specifically a cardinal. It'll mean a lot to her, too. I think I grabbed it. I hope I did. Where is... You did a... I didn't grab the picture. I mean, I saved it, but I didn't... Let me see if I can add it real quick. You did a Millennium Falcon, and it's clear.
I did? Oh, yeah. I painted a Millennium Falcon and gave it to a friend of mine.
So was that you 3D printed that? Oops, you 3D printed this as well.
No.
It's super clear.
Yeah, yeah, that was a resin print. I have that somewhere in this room. I don't know where it's at. But yeah, so that's a resin printer. It's not not done with PLA or anything like that. It's literally a liquid bed, and so it's UV light that like a screen on the bottom,
Okay.
and it lights up with the top head down on it, and it hardens the resin where the light lit up, and then it literally pulls out of this resin and lights up each layer, and it's all just a hard piece of light or UV resin, and then you have to put it into a light box and harden it even more to take it the next step. But yeah, it's a little
so
little
cool.
Let me see if I can find it. I think it's. I'll be right back. It's over
Okay.
here. I don't see it. It's not here.
Well,
It's somewhere.
that's okay. Colin, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time, to talk to us tonight. And I know that it's been a thrill. There was a lot of people that reached out to me that were excited that we were bringing, something outside of our little box onto the channel. And I hope that you and I can keep in touch, because literally, I mean, beyond the BattleBots, like, I am just in awe at all the stuff that you do. And like I said, I need to order one of those mugs for my uncle, because he's totally into that stuff, and that would just make his year. So, but thank you so much, and thank Natalie and the girls. I'll call them both girls since you got one coming, for letting us borrow you for an hour. But I very much appreciate it, and thank you for the education. I'm gonna go back and timestamp like little parts of this where you're like, use this and this epoxy and this paint and stuff like that. So, but thank you guys, and thank you, chat. I appreciate you guys hanging with us tonight and the questions and everything. But go check out Mama J. She's starting here in just 2 minutes. And please come back and join us next week. It is my birthday show, but I will be giving you guys stuff. So I'm going to be giving out presents for my own birthday, and we're trying the 3 flavored sodas. So we're doing pickle, maple bacon, and corn soda next week. So, and remember, next week we start at 7:30. Make sure you guys tune into BattleBots and support Colin and Team Hypershock. Anything else you want to add there?
I'll thank you for having me on this. This is great. I didn't know what I was getting into. I kind of came into this blindly, and just thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, anytime. I mean, you make something else cool, or you're like, hey, I got to show you guys this. Just let me know. I'll bring you back on.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Everybody have a great night. Remember, next week we start at 7:30 instead of 8. We're going to expand the show out some. So we'll see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.